Tianjin found an additional case of the CCP virus. All residents of Hangu had to take the nucleic acid testing. The disease prevention headquarters decided to designate Hangu Street and the frozen food storage in the Central Harbor as medium-risk areas. The risk level of other areas in Tianjin is now changed. Nucleic acid testing was conducted on all people in the medium-risk area. The public should cooperate with the community's health checkup and virus testing. On November 9th, at Binhai District in Tianjin, the residents lined up overnight for the nucleic acid testing. Tianjin resident: how come the pandemic never ends? One person got infected, and all these people have to take the nucleic acid testing. All 60,000 residents in Hangu Street had to take the nucleic acid testing.
The Beijing CDC issued warnings that the packaging of frozen food sold in many parts of China tested positive for the CCP virus.
Yunnan found 2 asymptomatic carriers from Burma. 66 schools were closed, and faculty and students have to stay at home for quarantine. On November 9th, Yunnan detected an imported asymptomatic case from Burma. Starting from November 9th, several districts conducted free coronavirus testing on all residents. All people with close contacts with a symptomatic carrier have been quarantined, but they all tested negative by the nucleic acid testing. Pfizer CEO: the 90% efficiency is a game changer. He believes everyone can get the vaccine for free.
I think the vaccine will be available for free to all American citizens. I believe most countries will do the same. We are giving it to the government at quite low price. So I think every American will have access to it.
An explosion occurred at a factory in Liaoning, sending a cloud of smoke in mushroom shape into the sky. I heard 3 loud bangs from my room, and then I saw the mushroom cloud. Staff of the Anshan Emergency Response: this is a small explosion that caused no fire and no casualties. A minor explosion occurred at an aluminum factory. Investigation is on the way. Was there any hazardous gas released? No.
Fire broke out at Xiamen Canghai Bridge.
CCP's urban management personnel entered the room to violently enforce the law, grabbed the lady's mobile phone, and forced her to stop filming.
Following the UK, Sweden is another European country that does not use products from Chinese companies like Huawei.
The CCP's non-performing bank loans hit a record high in the past 3 years, exceeding the total for the previous 8 years.
Brazil's health agency suspended the CCP's vaccine experiment.
CCP called Justin Trudeau's accusation of arbitrary detention and coercive diplomacy a willful accusation.
U.S. sanctioned four Chinese and Hong Kong officials. Zhang Jianzhong said the U.S. is interfering in the internal affairs of China.
Spokesperson Wang Wenbing demanded immediate lifting of U.S. sanctions on four CCP officials for the national security law.
Hong Kong compatriots still take to the street to support Trump and send him for the United States.
The U.S. Navy held 4 consecutive live combat exercises in Taiwan.
We're going to win this election. We've actually won it. Just a matter of counting the votes fairly.
That is former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani last week launching a legal war on behalf of his client, the President of the United States. He joins us live right now. He's President Trump's personal attorney. Mr. Mayor, you are leading the president's legal team in disputing results from several key states. I want to show everyone, including Arizona, Michigan, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Nevada. What are you working on with this team this morning, and what's the game plan for this week?
Well, the game plan for this week is to first to file lawsuits. First one that we'll file is today in the state of Pennsylvania, challenging the entire vote in Pennsylvania on a number of grounds. Let me emphasize the fact that the fake media has for some time said there's no evidence. We've been putting evidence on television every day, including the day after the election.
U.S. President Donald Trump fired Defense Secretary Mark Esper in a tweet on Monday, and he appointed Christopher Miller, the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, as the acting defense secretary. There had been speculation since June that Esper could be terminated for having opposing Trump over the sending of military troops to control demonstrations against police brutality.
Miranda, it's yours. Bring us up to date. Where are we? What are your views? Where do you think it's going to end?
Well, look, you can't count out Donald Trump quite yet. Pennsylvania, Real Clear Politics, which is the amalgam of polls, still has that as a toss-up, which means that Joe Biden is not up to 270 votes. And Donald Trump's campaign has got lawsuits flying all over the place in all these swing states where these voting irregularities and allegations of fraud have occurred. Quite serious allegations, all sorts, ranging from vote counters from the Republican Party not allowed to come in and watch the vote counting as they're entitled to by law. You've had batches of ballots show up in the middle of the night and suddenly the counts are changed. A lot of very dodgy behaviour, and America is not a stranger to election fraud. So we'll see where that all pans out. Donald Trump is a fighter, as you know, and he really owes it to the 71 million Americans who voted for him.
Raheem.
I've just been told by our helper, Rebecca, as well, that we need to plug the Parler account. War and Pandemic is on Parler as well.
Okay.
86,000 followers, so you can make sure you get all the... And she live tweets the show from there as well, so you're going to want to make sure you tune into that.
Fantastic. Let's go to... I want to go... Jack Maxey, by the way, we got major pandemic news in the next hour. People keep telling me over the weekend, oh, take it down, change it to something else. No. Pandemic, still here, right? Trust me. You got Cuomo, you got the vaccine. You're going to have is the vaccine right? You got what China? We
got the mail-in ballots.
The whole mail-in ballots. The whole architecture of this is a subset of what the CCP did, which nobody still wants to talk about, but we're going to talk about. What do you got?
No. I mean, we've got the vaccine and stuff coming out. We've got some things to talk about. I think we're going to play some clips from Cuomo going forward. But I will say we've still got the hashtag War Room Pandemic Posse still going hard.
Let's hear it. We need to see hard.
And hear from Pebbles. Hashtag War Room Pandemic. The deplorables are here. We will not be silenced. We will not stop. We stand for liberty and justice for all. And in the end, God will win. Be not afraid.
Listen, here's why this is so important. You changed world history in 16. This is the 4th anniversary. This is our 4th anniversary show. 2:30 in the morning in 2016, Donald Trump, became president-elect of the United States, right? All those votes were eventually certified. Now, two faithless electors ended up not voting for him, so our 306, I think, went to 304. But this is the 4th anniversary of this. You changed world history on November 3rd. 71 million people. We got 62.5. Basically, our demographics showed that I think 2 million of ours died or went to nursing homes. So I always consider we started a base at 60. That means we brought 10.5 million people out to vote. This was not a repudiation of Trump. This is not a repudiation of Trump. You're more powerful than ever. Why do you think they want to crush you? Why do you think they want to break your spirit? You have changed world history. Now, why do you think they're trying to crush this show? Because we link you with Lao Beijing, old 100 names, the deplorables of China. This is a global movement. This is why half of our audience is international. This is why we want to thank GTV and G News that helps get us out throughout the world, right? And you see these comments that come in from people that are deplorables in every nation on earth. And they want to fight. And remember, this election was not just the most important election in American history. It was the most important in 5,000 years of Chinese history. That's why so many Chinese from the diaspora, come into this show. That's why we do this show every day. That's why the show is as relevant in Phoenix, Arizona, we're going to go to in a second, as it is in New Zealand, as it is in Europe, as it is in Italy and North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, India, Hong Kong, Taiwan. Why does everybody throughout the world listen and watch this show, from hedge fund managers to the thought police at Media Matters to political operatives to old 100 names in Wuhan who, remember, we had a whole show of Wuhan people who were crying for help back a couple of months ago, back in the middle, not a couple of months ago, back in the beginning. Remember, we're the first show ever to do pandemic. People mocked us. People ridiculed us. I'm talking about mainstream media. When we started this in January. You guys are a bunch of nutcases. I said, I think this changes world history, which it did. But we're winning. More importantly, you're winning. That's what they're taking the show down, not because of Raheem and Steve Bannon. We're just clowns, bozos that do this every day. It's you. It's you. The 2 most important interviews we've had on this since the election day both came from the guy that's out there in Phoenix, Ben Bergquam. He did a package of some guy out there in Phoenix with a beard. Looks like a guy you do not want to give stink eye to in a bar. And he was the most eloquent about what the system was and why this had to work. And then the woman who came up and said, this is bigger than Trump. This is more important than Trump. This is about the Constitution. She was saying this a week before Mark Levin. I know Mark Levin was saying the entire time, but my point is, Mark Levin is one of the most serious constitutional lawyers and scholars we have. This is just some woman who's a deplorable with a red MAGA hat on. That's what this fight's about. Before we go to Phoenix and the state capitol, Maggie, what do you got for us? Maggie Vandenberg, one of the top influencers, conservative influencers. Here is our co-host.
Well, I just wanted to remind everyone that the markets are pumping with the announcement of this vaccine, and global stocks have surged. We've got 2 drug companies have announced that their coronavirus vaccine is 90% effective in tests. Right now, currently, the Dow is up about 4% or 1,100 points. NASDAQ up 1.14%. S&P up 2.85%.
Remember, one of the reasons it's up, and we're going to get this thing for the crowd out there that may say, this was a little quick. Dr. Jan's not a big name in this vaccine. We'll get into all that. I know there's a lot of people out there say, hey, you're not going to shoot me up with this thing. We'll get into all those details as we go forward. One of the reasons the market's on fire, let's be brutally frank, the party of Davos has popped the champagne. They've got rid of Trump, right? And they got Mitch and to control the Senate, what they call split government. They're all in love with split government now, right? This is because they don't want the Democrats to do any of the radical stuff. The bottom line is they want to be back in business with the Chinese Communist Party. That's why the market's up. They want to be back. They think the party's going to roll because all of a sudden you don't have to listen to Peter Navarro and you don't have to listen to Bob Lighthouse. That crazy Bannon is not relevant anymore. We're back in business. The champagne's popping from Beijing to the city of London to Wall Street to all the corporate suites, all the C-suites. They're high-fiving, right? Got to get Mitch to control because we don't want too crazy, right? We don't want AOC in our life. So that's what we got to do. That's what the scam is. Of course it's up. And now they got the vaccine. Of course, Drudge has got to have the headline. The vaccine thing was not part of Trump's program. Got to put that in there, right? Can't give Trump any credit whatsoever. Matt Drudge, you're a disgrace.
He's not well, and also even Pfizer is announcing all of this. What, 1 week after the election,
1 week,
right?
No conspiracy, but there are no
I have a doctor in Scotland who just wrote to me, and he said, you realize that part of Biden's health team wrote to Pfizer in advance in October and said, please delay the notification of the vaccine.
You have no idea just how big the side effect is. The CCP did win on this. An idiotic president came out at such a low price. You think you faked an orgasm and was making love to an angel? You think you were smart? It's over. It was a demon. Frankly, even if Taiwanese people spend another $100 billion to buy weapons from America, it will not make up for a fraction of the damage President Tsai caused to the American people. In the next 10 to 20 years, the U.S. politics, legislation, national defense, and international strategy, as well as geopolitics, I can tell you, everyone knows all of those will be centered around Asia. In the past, before this year, the core interest of the U.S. was still in Europe and NATO. No one changed or wanted to change that. However, after this election, the core interest of the U.S. and international strategy will surely shift towards Asia. And at this point in time, Taiwan does something foolish like this. Hong Kong people were very smart. They just put up the U.S. flag. Now President Trump is having a bit of a guilty conscience for Hong Kong. In recent days, he felt he needs to actually do something for Hong Kong. Hong Kong people will win big. As for Taiwan, why were you in such a hurry?
European countries opted for stricter lockdown measures to halt rising cases. Reuters had a U.S. COVID-19 hospitalizations surged to a record of just over 59,000 patients. News Health Surveillance Agency suspends the phase 3 trials of a China corona vaccine. Pfizer says early analysis shows its COVID-19 vaccine is 90% effective. U.S. health official has allowed emergency use of the first monoclonal antibody drug to help the immune system fight COVID-19. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has announced that he tested positive for coronavirus, saying his health was in good condition. FAA enters the final stages of a Boeing 737 MAX review. Trump fires the Secretary of Defense Mark Esper. Christopher C. Miller, director of the National Counterterrorism Center, will become an acting defense secretary.
Mama, are you okay over there? Your son is crying and missing you, and sees you in his dreams. You sent Jake down to CCP, cause it's God's will, it's God's will. So I'll wait for you, and I'll see you when we get in the CCP, yeah.